In a small, peaceful village, there lived a horse named Storm. He was a magnificent creature, with a coat the color of rich earth and eyes that seemed to hold a quiet wisdom. Strong, loyal, and gentle, he was the kind of horse that seemed to understand every unspoken emotion, a true companion to his owner, a farmer named Elias. Elias was a quiet man, his hands weathered by work, but his heart full of love for his wife and their newborn son, Oliver. Their small farmhouse, nestled beside rolling golden fields, was a haven of peace, and Storm was a silent, watchful guardian over it all. The bond between the horse and the family began subtly. It started with a sound, the soft, insistent cry of a baby filtering through the morning air. Every day, when little Oliver would cry, Storm would stop whatever he was doing. From his stall, he'd lean his head over the weathered wooden gate, his ears twitching, tuned to the sound. He seemed concerned, almost as if he were trying to understand the source of the tiny human's distress. Elias noticed this. One morning, while rocking the fussy baby on the porch, he saw Storm watching intently. On an impulse, Elias walked closer to the stable, holding Oliver securely in his arms. As they approached, Storm didn't shy away. Instead, he lowered his massive head, his nostrils flaring softly as he took in the scent of the newborn. With a gentleness that defied his size, he nuzzled the baby's soft blanket, his warm breath a comforting cloud. Oliver's cries quieted, replaced by a soft gurgle. From that day forward, a silent ritual was born. Storm became an essential part of the family's daily routine. He would wait patiently every morning, his eyes fixed on the farmhouse door, anticipating the moment he would see the baby. It was as if this quiet connection, this morning greeting, gave him a profound sense of purpose and peace. He wasn't just a farm animal anymore. He was a friend, a guardian, a member of the family. But the tranquility of their lives was destined to be shattered. The change came with the weather, a storm that brewed on the horizon with unusual fury. One night, the wind began to howl, a mournful, angry sound that rattled the old windows of the farmhouse. The sky, once a canvas of stars, was now a churning sea of black clouds. Thunder cracked and rolled across the valley, shaking the very ground. Rain lashed down in blinding sheets. Inside, baby Oliver was restless, his cries piercing through the din of the storm. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the yard. The wind had ripped the stable door from its hinges, slamming it against the barn wall. Worried about Storm, Elias pulled on his boots and ran out into the tempest to secure the door. He was wrestling with the splintered wood when another sound, a terrible groaning crash, filled the air. A section of the old barn roof, weakened by years and now assaulted by the storm, had collapsed. A wave of dread washed over Elias. He sprinted back toward the house, his heart pounding. The front porch was empty. Oliver's crib, where he'd often let the baby sleep in the fresh evening air, was gone. Panic, cold and sharp, seized him. He burst into the house, shouting for his wife. Together they searched every room, their calls swallowed by the roaring wind. But there was no sign of the baby. Despair began to set in, a crushing weight in the stormy darkness. And then, as lightning illuminated the muddy yard for a fleeting second, Elias saw them. Hoofprints. Storm's hoofprints, leading away from the house, away from the collapsed barn, and heading straight toward the dark, menacing forest. A sliver of hope, fragile but fierce, cut through his fear. He grabbed a lantern, and with a few brave neighbors who had heard the commotion, they plunged into the woods, following the trail of a runaway horse and a missing child. For hours, they followed the tracks. The rain never stopped, turning the forest floor into a treacherous mire of mud and tangled roots. Their lanterns cast flickering, dancing shadows, playing tricks on their tired eyes. Every gust of wind sounded like a cry, every rustle of leaves like a phantom movement. Elias's heart was a drum, beating a frantic rhythm of fear and prayer. He called Storm's name, his voice raw and hoarse, swallowed by the storm. He pushed onward, driven by the desperate image of his tiny son, lost and alone in the wilderness. The tracks were faint, washed away by the relentless downpour, but they pressed on, praying for a miracle. Finally, as the first hints of dawn began to break through the oppressive darkness, they reached the edge of a small, swollen river, and there, standing still and silent amidst the swirling mist, was Storm. He was soaked to the bone, his powerful body trembling, his head bowed low. At first Elias thought the worst, but as he stumbled closer, his lantern light fell upon a small bundle protected beneath the horse's sturdy frame. It was Oliver, wrapped in his blanket, miraculously safe and unharmed. The cradle lay shattered nearby, likely swept away by the rising water. Storm had found the baby, perhaps moments after the wind had blown the crib from the porch. He had stood over him, a living shield, protecting the infant from the cold wind, the driving rain, and the falling branches all through that terrifying night. By the time the sun fully rose, casting a pale golden light over the ravaged landscape, Storm could barely stand. His great body shuddered with exhaustion and cold, but his eyes, when he lifted his head to look at Elias, were calm. He had done his duty. He had fulfilled his silent promise. Elias fell to his knees beside the heroic horse, his relief so overwhelming it brought tears to his eyes. He wrapped his arms around Storm's neck, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my son," he whispered, pressing his face into the horse's wet mane. "Thank you, old friend. Thank you." In response, Storm let out a soft, weary sigh. With the last of his strength, he slowly lowered his head, resting it near the sleeping baby one final time. And then, as the morning sun warmed the earth, he closed his eyes forever. Years passed. The story of Storm the hero became a local legend, a tale whispered from one generation to the next. The small farmhouse remained, a testament to resilience and memory. Oliver grew up into a fine young man, strong and kind-hearted, with a quiet strength that reminded everyone of the horse who had saved him. He never forgot his guardian. He couldn't remember the storm or the fear, but the story was etched into his soul. Every year, on the anniversary of that fateful night, he would walk out to the rebuilt stable, light a single candle, and let its flame flicker in the darkness. As the wax melted, he would whisper into the night air the same words, a promise and a prayer. "Thank you, Storm. You'll always be my guardian." The bond between a boy and a horse he never truly knew became the compass of his life, a reminder of selfless love and ultimate sacrifice. Some bonds are not built with words or shared memories. They're forged in moments of pure courage, in the depths of unconditional love, and by silent hearts that understand what matters most. Storm didn't just save a life that night, he gave his own to protect it, leaving behind a legacy that would gallop through time, forever remembered in the heart of the boy he saved.